Welcome to our final session this morning on the innovation economy. Our speakers today are Theresa Eyssens, Vice President of Customer Solutions and Cloud at Optus, Michael Bromley, the Group CEO of Stone & Shop Group, Ross Chaldecott, CEO of Kinde, and Phil Sim, the CEO of Influencing. Please welcome our first speaker to the podium, Theresa Eyssens.
Good morning, and this is my first time at an event like this, so please bear with me. I want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians on the lands that we are on today. I actually identify as Aboriginal Canadian, so I am Cree, part of the First Nations. I'm the Vice President of Customer Solutions and Cloud. Friday was my second year anniversary at Optus. I've had a 30-year career in technology, IBM on and off 26 years, CEO of Datacom, Salesforce, where I really cut my teeth on learning about cloud and the client's challenges with moving to cloud and SaaS-based solutions, and I'm now at Optus Enterprise. My North Star is really around working with organizations to realize the potential that technology can provide to really change the world and that we live in and that we work in. I'm a passionate advocate for women in business, women in tech, and more specifically, women in cloud tech. We just kicked off with AWS, Louise Stigwood and I, some really interesting support for women in cloud technology because there aren't enough of us, demonstrated by the 3 or 4 women in this room that are joining me. I'm even a bigger supporter of STEM initiatives. Optus does an amazing program with Vogue called Vogue Codes, where we really support and advocate for girls to get into STEM. There's an amazing award program that I've been the judge of, and it's really about embracing their potential careers in technology, science, and engineering, and I'm sure all of you appreciate that, especially those of us that have daughters in the room. What is Optus about? Optus is really about creating a connected enterprise for tomorrow that really allows us to take our advanced knowledge, and in my 3 practices, which I'll talk about in a minute, to provide leading and emerging services under a single brand that really is underpinned by our network DNA. So I joined Optus. I don't have a telco background, but I've come in to run their EX, CX, and hyper-connected practices. We really see the use of enterprise verticalization and scaling for growth really being demonstrated by growing our business by CX, EX, and the move to connected cloud, really underpinned by the investments we're making in the network and 5G to provide what we call an enterprise living network. We talk a lot about organizations moving to cloud and enterprises that are looking at ways to expand their hybrid workplaces. We know from the research we've done that organizations are really trying to thrive post-pandemic, and the way to do that is to look for ways that they can entice employees back into the office and look for architectures that allow them to create solutions that are scalable, secure, and moving to technologies like the cloud. We also know that a lot of employees are looking for ways and thinking differently about why work, why come to the office, and organizations are now looking at how do they invest in workspaces that would allow them to entice employees. It's about talent, attrition, and attracting good talent into the organization. We all know there's a war for talent. And a year ago, some of our property customers, we were talking to organizations about how they can use the pandemic as a time to really look at their office spaces and enhance them. We now know that at least every CIO, one of the top 4 key game changers for them is looking at how they redesign their office space. So we do a lot of work with organizations around creating the concept of smart workspaces, and it'll all be underpinned by 5G and what creating a smart building will allow us to do. So when we talk about smart workspaces, we talk about creating ways that people can collaborate. So we know organizations have spent a lot of money, I'm on this special eating plan and it really dries my mouth out. We know organizations are looking at ways that they can create collaboration. They've invested in a lot of collaboration technologies already, and they want to now enhance the coming back to the office that is more collaborative and is more seamless and frictionless. Think about the concepts of 5G as a way to create smart buildings, and employees can walk into a building now, not have to tap in anymore because the phone identifies who they are. The building's smarter. People can take an elevator, they don't have to tap And again, post-COVID, when tapping anything was really kind of foreign, it can actually take them to the floor that they work on because it knows where they work. They can walk into the office, they can walk into a room, the room knows they've arrived. It'll actually bring their meetings up. 98% of the meetings that people are participating now in will have at least one remote participant. So coming into the office with a whiteboard to collaborate and create innovation isn't going to be possible just with people in the room. They're going to need to think about how do they collaborate. So these are the kind of concepts that organizations, every CIO, every organization is looking at. How do they create these smarter workspaces? Also how they serve their customers. We also talk about smart CX and a way that you can use data. We heard a lot about AI and technologies yesterday. How do they use data to better inform a CX experience so that when employees come into the office, they have a technology need, they can walk up to things like digital kiosks, tap a button, they're instantly connected with someone that has a technology background to help them with any technology needs. They can actually put a VR headset in and be in a dialogue in an immersive experience with someone technical that then can help them with their technology problems. So these are some of the concepts that we talk about at Optus Enterprise and that we're having with our customers around how do they really create this concept of smarter workspaces. So thank you very much.
Michael Bromley, Stone & Shaw. So, thanks for taking some time to listen to me. Obviously, it's North America hour here in the Fairmont, but I think I figured I'd start off with a little bit why I think I deserve to even be talking to you at this point, because you guys have a lot of things to write about, a lot of important things to talk about. So first of all, I am the CEO of Stone & Chalk. I'm not sure why it's the group CEO of the Stone & Chalk Group. That sounds a little bit over the top, but I think that was our fault, not yours. I like to describe myself as a recovering investment banker, because once you are an investment banker, you never quite get over it. That was my first job. I started that job the year of the largest stock market crash in history. So that went well. But I managed to last 10 years as an investment banker in actually Boston, because I couldn't get back into New York. And the interesting thing about that, if you go back that far, and you're as old as I am, pre-GFC, what we thought of as technology back then versus what we think of technology today is really interesting, but that's what got me into it. And technology back then, we called it high tech, and it was, there was no iPod, there was no iPhone, there was nothing that we think of it as technology today. And that's what's got me to where I am now. I am absolutely the king of gadgets. I love technology, not because of the tech. I don't know how to write a line of code, but because of what it can do for me. It's how it changes my life, and that's what's really exciting. And so what I did was I took that 10 years of blood and sweat and a lot of tears, and I turned that into 5 startups. So I have lived through the pain of what it is to start up a technology company in 2 different countries, actually 3 if you count Canada, because we did have some time in Canada when I was with BlackBerry. And I founded 2 entrepreneurial startups, one within AOL, the AOL Anywhere program, and one with IAG, the IAG Digital Labs. So I have lived through the corporate side, the startup side, and the finance side of what it's like. And I gotta tell you, it's easier now than it's ever been to innovate. And it's still damn hard, and too damn hard. And that's what we have to fix. So let me tell you a little bit about Stone & Chalk. Stone & Chalk Group, because we also own Aust Cyber, which is the Australian Cybersecurity Industry Growth Center, is a group that is here for one purpose. That purpose is to transform Australia into a sustainable, technology-driven economy. We dig coal out of the ground, we send carbon into the air, and we run our country on it. That's disgraceful. We have more sunshine than we know what to do with, and we have more ideas than we know what to do with. And the proof of that is there's 300 companies in Stone & Chalk residences right now desperate to create new ideas and drive new businesses. There are 300 cybersecurity companies in our virtual network that are desperate to create new ideas and new businesses. Why is that not the engine that this country runs on? It should be. The problem is there's no career pathway if you're a startup, a founder, or a small business of any kind. So we've decided to create the home for emerging technologies, all of them. So at the moment, we support pre-startup, startup, scale-ups, corporates, and enterprise driving innovation. And we do it with guardrails all the way through. We are the largest innovation community in Australia. We have over 6,000 people between our virtual and our physical residences, representing about 20,000 jobs, supporting that ecosystem. And we are still way too small. We need more, we need to be bigger, we need to be in more places. We have offices, 2 offices in Sydney, one for startups, one for scale-ups. We have offices, brand new office in Melbourne, an office in Adelaide, and all of those house physical and virtual startups and scale-ups. We also have nodes, that we call them, which are cybersecurity programs and event coordinators in Canberra, in Perth, in the Sunshine Coast, in Brisbane, and in Launceston. And we're still too small because there are so many companies that don't have the benefit of what we provide our companies. We need to do more as a country. We provide access to experience, knowledge, capital, training, all the things they need so that they can get to where they want to go with their business. We raised about $1 billion in 7 years for those startups to grow. That is nothing. It seems like a big number. It's nothing. That falls out of the pocket of an investment banker in New York on his way to work. We need to do more, way more. So, what are my key messages? 1, first of all, this is a discussion about innovation. Raise your hand if you know what that is. We're having a discussion about something and nobody knows what it is. Let's talk.
The creation of new ideas and new technologies.
No, next.
Trying and failing and then trying.
No, next.
Doing something new.
Kind of, yes. Here's the thing.
Doing something that hasn't been done before.
No. Here's the thing. Are you giving me time? All right. Real quick.
Let it go.
Invention is the creation of something new. Innovation is taking something and doing something new with it. Why does that matter? Can you name the inventor of the television? Can you name? Yeah, that's true. Who invented the computer?
Charles Babbage.
Very few people know inventors. They all died penniless. Anybody heard of Steve Jobs? Bill Gates? Elon Musk? Innovators, not inventors. Billionaires. Money is in innovation, not in invention. But you need invention to innovate against. So we have the whole thing. So real quick, we need a connected, curated innovation ecosystem, not point solutions all over the country. We need to build entrepreneur career pathways from school all the way through. We need to build a skills pipeline, not just import foreign talent. Yes, I get the irony of me saying that. We need to ensure we're globally competitive now and in the future. We can't sell the future. We need to be proactive and not reactive with our policy and provide equal opportunity for small and large businesses to compete on the world stage. Think about procurement, trade, skills, incentives instead of regulation, and digital infrastructure as the policies that we need to be focusing on to drive the underpinnings of what innovation really is. Thank you.
Hey, so about 6 months ago, it started to become a little bit fucking terrifying to be an early stage startup. A lot changed all of a sudden overnight. And I wanted to kind of represent a little bit of being on the front lines of that as an early stage founder. So we saw companies like Eucalyptus losing 20% of their headcount overnight. We saw Shopify having to let go 1,000 people. We saw Canva having a $20 billion write-down on its valuation. These are fucking terrifying things to be in the midst of, to be living through. Kind was very fortunate we were insulated. We had just raised a $10.6 million round at pretty much the perfect time. So we closed our round end of December last year, which means we got plenty of runway, plenty of insulation. We're in a pretty safe space. But that's not true for every other founder out there. You know, we have Blackbird, we have Felicia's backing us up. We have the CEOs of Dovetail and Culturam in our angel pool. We have a lot of the right people, a lot of really great people backing us, and we've got the runway to last a while. But there's a lot of companies who are not in that luxurious position. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time, having spent a lot of time, a lot of our customers are early stage founders. We spend a lot of time talking to investors. I wanted to spend a little bit of time giving you the founder perspective, what it's actually like to be out there. So first things first, it's not actually all doom and gloom. You speak to a lot of investors out there, they've got massive funds they need to go and deploy. They raise them in the good times. Yes, it's the bad times now, but they're still going to go and deploy that capital. So this is a really, really good time to raise capital. There's a lot of it out there. The reality is, though, that those investors are getting a lot pickier in how they invest that money. And so what we see is a focus much more on the fundamentals, and the fundamentals really, really mattering. 6 months ago, you could go to an investor with pretty much any idea and you were going to get investment. That is no longer true. They're looking much, much harder at businesses' fundamentals. So we're seeing this kind of reset and reevaluation of what it means to raise capital today. So, as a business, you need to be looking at your fundamentals. You need to get your shit together. We're looking at much more solid businesses. You've got to have revenue. You've got to have customers. You've got to have a solid growth path, and you've got to have a solid model. You need to know how you're going to get to growth. Early stage businesses still don't have to have the growth that we see in later stage startups. But if you want to raise a seed round now, you better make sure you know what your model is. You better make sure you know what your story is. You better make sure you know how to tell that story and how you're going to grow really, really fast. Boring businesses are also becoming really, really interesting. So we're seeing, the customers that we have coming in, we're seeing finance, legal, building, construction, healthcare, all of the kind of traditional industries that that are less exciting, less appetizing, less interesting in a really, really booming financial market. These are the businesses that people can look at and say, these are solid businesses. And at Kinde, these are the companies that we have applying to join our platform. These are the companies that we're seeing getting investment, because this is where solid money is. This is where safety is in a really difficult market. Next up, you need to make damn sure that you are fast to market. That means high velocity decision making, but it also means building products really, really, really fast. Speed to market matters right now. It's critical stuff. And this is where Kinde comes in. So today we see a lot of founders building the same infrastructural bullshit, right? They're going and building authentication and user management. They're building feature and release management. They're building growth and experimentation frameworks. They're building commerce and billing frameworks. This is a crazy waste of time. When you're trying to get to market with a product and you're spending your time building infrastructure, you're just wasting time. You're going to spend the first 90 days just building a login system and authentication. You're going to spend the first 120 days configuring user profiles and management. You're going to spend 45 days building and planning a payment system. That is time that founders do not have. And then in the long run, that's going to cost you 50% of your annual budget to maintain all that shit. That's crazy. Nobody should be doing that. People should be building the product. They should be building the value that matters from day one, not building infrastructure. And that's what Kinde does. Kinde solves this problem because I think it's actually the most important problem that exists in tech today for early stage startups is the infrastructure layer where the internet is not there. And Kinde exists to solve that problem. So Kinde is this infrastructure layer that empowers businesses to start building really, really, really fast. So that's what we do. The other thing that's really exciting is because of this downturn, there's actually slightly less competition out there. So what a great time to start a business when actually the competition is reduced. This is the perfect time to get into starting a business. So, do I believe it's a good time to be alive? Hell yeah, I'm super fucking bullish on the opportunities that exist in the market. I think this is the perfect time to start to build a startup. This is exactly what all of those people who are leaving Eucalyptus and Shopify should be doing right now. They should be taking the funds that they have and investing them into building world-changing companies. Because these are the times, right? These are the fires in which great businesses are built. We saw in the last downturn, Uber, Airbnb, Spotify, Atlassian was going through, was growing through that time. I was at Atlassian for a lot of their time as they went through the last crisis. And this is when they became really, really great companies, because these times force great companies to become incredible companies. And this is what we're all here for to do. We are here to encourage the next generation of founders to go and get started, to help to create a world with more founders, and ideally to create a world with more Australian founders. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our final speaker, Bill Sim.
Alright, so a little bit weird for me to be on the other side here, but we had a message to get out to you guys, and we were going, what was the best way to get a message out to the tech media? And it's speaking of tech leaders clearly, so eating our own dog food. So I started Media Connect 22 years ago, and it was out of a ambition to solve my own pain points, but I was freelance journalist at the time, and I was spending so much time doing stupid stuff like trying to find who to speak to at X company and trying to track down images and all those things. And so I created a business that I hoped would solve my own pain point, which is all those years back was a website called IT Journo. Now, 22 years later, so that was our foray into journo tech, as I like to call it. 22 years later, we kind of stopped doing journo tech, so the business diversified. We launched a indirect model, as any good old channel journalist knows. It's much faster and easier to go through a channel. So we launched an indirect model, and through that we did things like print monitoring, broadcast monitoring, and media coverage for other larger media intelligence companies. And our most recent product was in the broadcast monitoring space. And what we created is a system that takes television, news, radio, etc., and turns it into structured data. So if you have any familiarity with traditional media monitoring in the broadcast space, it's basically a stream of text. What we do is we break it into structured data. There's a start point and end point. We use facial recognition to see who's on the screen, voice recognition to tell who's speaking. We pick out the captions, and we essentially turn a TV segment into an article. And that's really cool, and it's doing very, very well. But I'm still passionate about journo tech. And so my mind went to, well, how can I use this cool stuff that we've done to actually help journalists to do their jobs better, help PR companies to work with journos better. And so probably 3 months ago, we started down this path of building out the next version of influencing. Now, I very much believe that right now, media and PR are kind of broken. So who's making money from media at the moment? Does it drive you crazy that it's YouTube vloggers, TikTok influencers? And that's happening because they're creating video content. And it's far easier to commercialize video content than it is written content, because you're getting paid in banner ads and banner ads get paid a pittance. So you've got this crazy dichotomy that all the money is in video and all the journalists are still working in words. So our goal is to turn every journalist into an omni-channel journalist. And so what we've built is this capability to take any interview, press conference, a press release, and it goes through the system that transcribes, segments it, breaks it into parts, so that it then can be used in any situation. So you might take a quote and send it to LinkedIn or Twitter or embed it into your story. So I just got a quick example here. So we just very quickly, and we didn't quite get to where we wanted to be with this demo. So this technology I'm talking about will be kind of rolled out over the course of this year in bits and pieces. But this is an example. I think one thing that has happened during the pandemic is the whole media sector's got quite lazy in terms of relying on press releases where there's a couple of choice quotes where everyone basically has to use, or you don't have quotes. I've always believed as a journalist, give me everything so I can choose what quotes that I want to use to make my story unique. And so the first use case for this tech will be allowing PR companies to make a video, and that might be your CEO speaking about the topic. It might be a Q&A that the PR company does. And then when they use, and we've got 100 companies that use our system to upload and distribute their news releases. Same time they can upload that press release, and it goes through our system, it transcribes it, diarizes it, breaks it down. And when it gets to you guys, so this is an example, and you'll click through, and so you can then go not just to the press release, but to the transcript behind the press release. And the reason we believe that video doesn't get taken up, because video is difficult. Some people in this room doing fantastic stuff with video. Digital Oz is amazing, Cyber, Shack, IT Wire, but video is hard. Like, Next Media has a full-time video producer that works his butt off to do that. So what we want to do is not have to use traditional video tools, but to use the tools that journalists know how to use, which is copy and paste. Say that quite ironically. But that's what you would do with a press release. You'd copy the quote from a press release and put it into your story. And that's the same thing you would do here. You'll take the quote that you want, and we didn't quite get to this point, and then a pop-up comes up here, and you send to LinkedIn, create embed code, anything that you can with that little bit of video, and we'll automatically pull that out and make it usable. So that's going to roll out for us over the next 3 months. We're very excited to share that to you. The other thing that I'm quite excited about is that there's been this whole thing about fake news and can we trust the media? And you might quote me today. Will you get it right? I don't know. But with this technology, you'll be able to take any source material, copy, embed, and then the user through our embed card will be able to click through and watch the quote, so they can see what you've actually written down in video. So looking forward to getting your feedback on it. That was part of our objective here, was to hear what you guys thought of it, because as I said, we are in the development of it, and so we've got plenty of room to tinker. We will have a transcribe tool, so I know a lot of you use Otter, and Otter has just put up its prices a lot, and so it will be a free alternative to that, so that's a good start. So thank you, everyone.